To start the derivation of the optimal hedge ratio, again, we only need to take into account the notion of effective price. So to start the derivation, we need first to ask what is our profit or also our loss position in this strategy. So our profit or our loss position is nothing more than our effective price. So this is given by the letter Y. So our profit and loss is given by Y. And it's exactly the same as the effective price. So we start with S2, and it's a difference between the futures price, F2 minus F1. The only thing that we need to take into account is that we are trading some amount of assets and we are holding some amount of futures contract. So we need to multiply the spot price, remember the spot price, the market price, by the number of assets, and the futures price, and the futures prices by the number of futures contract that I hold. Okay, so this is our starting position, the profit or loss of our strategy. The next step is to look at this formula. Well, if I look at this formula, I see, I can see here that the futures price is expressed as a change of prices, so a change of price. However, the same doesn't happen here with the spot price. I am unable to write the spot price as a change of prices. So what can one do? So usually in mathematics, when we want to add new information to the equation, what we add we need to remove. So in other words, we want to express the spot price as a change, so we can even put here a note. We want to express the spot price as a change. So how do we do this? Well, for this we have to add a quantity which is S1 multiplied by the number of assets. Well, if we have to incorporate this into the equation, if we have to add this amount to the equation, so the equation then becomes, so our Y becomes S1 and A. So if I'm adding this quantity, to the equation, then it means that we can even put it here in another color. So let's write it here in red. So I'm adding here this quantity S1 and A, and if I am adding it, I also have to remove it. Okay, and the rest of the equation I just copy it down. So it's S2 plus S2 multiplied by the number of assets minus the difference of the futures multiplied by the number of futures. Okay, now I look again at this formula, and again, what is my goal? My goal is to express a price change in the spot price. So again, I want to write something similar. I want to write something as S2 minus S1. So S2 minus S1, and as you can see, I have these two components here. So if I factorize in terms of the number of assets, if I factorize these two terms in terms of the number of assets, I end up with S2 minus S1. And the rest I copy. F2 minus F1, number of futures. And in here I sum S1 and A, which is what is left. Okay? So this is what is left, goes here. Okay. So again, to revise, why is so important to add this quantity here? So this quantity here is also known as this is also known as the null term. Okay. And why is it so important? Well, it is because of the null term, it is because of this quantity here that we inserted, that we were able to express the spot prices as a change. So in here I have a change in my spot price, let's call it delta S, and in here I also have a change in my futures price, let's call it delta F. So thanks to this I can now write y equals S1 NA plus NA multiplied by the price change of my spot prices minus the same delta F as the change of my futures price. Let's write this in yellow to be consistent, and F. Okay. So this is another step towards the derivation of our optimal hedge ratio.